Okay guys, so today we're going to talk a little bit about digital transformation and what that really means in the financial services industry specifically. We're going to talk a little bit about industry vision and some insights across the board, kind of above the fray. And then we're going to focus on some real customer case studies, 2 examples of people who have been there before and have been able to transform their business and taking things up into the cloud and really been able to transform it digitally. Hopefully we'll have time for summary and Q&A, but if we don't, I'll be available after. So we're really going to focus on, in the overall above the fray industry insights, is what's going on in the financial services market. And with all of the rapid innovation and all of the new regulations coming down the pipe, the market's really shaking up. The barrier for entry for new, smaller niche companies to come up is a lot easier, so there's a lot more competition. And there's regulations constantly coming down, including the 606 regulation, the ACA regulation in healthcare, that's really changing the environment in a very fast pace. And companies are required to keep up with those, with the new competitive market, and they really rely on technology to do that. So some of the things I want to point out is that they really have a need to reduce the burden of those legacy systems. That's part of this concept of digital transformation. The legacy systems aren't going away. An insurance company is always going to have a legacy claim system, but how do we reduce that burden? And a financial services organization like a wealth management firm might always have a legacy transaction system. So how do we reduce the burden and make that information more readily available? Additionally, we have to operate in a highly regulated environment. I just mentioned 2 previous regulations that are fairly new, that are changing the way that we're operating and are really changing the way that we're going to market and doing business with our customers. Additionally, our customers have higher expectations. It's a digital generation. They are on social media. They're smarter. They're able to find information more easily. And so how do we engage with them where they are and really customize the experience for them as part of this concept of digital transformation as well? So some of the core tenets on how do we accomplish this should look pretty familiar to you. We need to engage with our customers at a deeper and better level, but this is something we've all been talking about for a while, that customer-centric view across all of our systems and putting the customer first is something we've really been discussing in the last really 5 to 10 years or so in technology, is how do we really make the system work so that they're the focus point. It's not the policy, it's not the financial product, it's really all about the customer. And we'll take an example, we'll take a look at a holistic view of a customer in just a little bit. Empowering your agents and advisors, this is really going to be mobile heavy. You got to meet them where they are. They have to be able to do business on the train or at their home having coffee over breakfast, and mobility is really going to be the answer to that question. And then optimizing your operations, that doesn't necessarily mean taking a huge process or a huge operation and trying to find all of the small inefficiencies. It could be as simple as really nailing down the best lead nurturing program. And really optimizing the smaller niche processes that maybe have gotten left behind in these large enterprise scale deployments of technology that we're doing these days. And then transforming your products. Customers have expectations that the product is going to be tailored for them. So how do we use the system to do that? How do I see what they have now to more effectively cross-sell and upsell? And we're going to see a view of that here in a minute as well. So the advisor or the agent of tomorrow has a holistic view of their customers using the information from those legacy systems. It's all in one screen, and that makes them better at selling, cross-selling, upselling, as well as servicing any customer that they might have. Also, big data and machine learning used to be kind of far-off concepts, but there's a lot of tools around now that make this a lot easier to achieve. Big data used to be much more scary than it is today, and we're going to look at Microsoft's Power BI tool and how it can pull in information from multiple disparate systems fairly easily to surface up some real analytics that matter to an advisor or to an agent. Process automation to streamline complex tasks is another huge win. We kind of touched on that just a moment ago, but this doesn't necessarily mean the task is complex because of the nature of it. It could just mean it's complex because the agent has 6 follow-up tasks for every new lead. And that's a burden to them. Each follow-up task is just an email maybe, but when you have over 1,000 leads potentially, and each one has 6 follow-up tasks that you're supposed to walk through, that's a huge burden, and that becomes a much more complex process. So complexity doesn't necessarily indicate that there's a lot of branching or logic. It could just be because there's a lot of things that need to get done, so it becomes very complex for the agent or the advisor to achieve that. Additionally, mobility is huge, and we're going to look at a mobile solution where the advisors or the agent can consume information and can consume reports on their own time to see how they're doing and really support user adoption. They want to go back to the system because it's giving them information they need. Mobility is going to be huge in order to really transform your business. So just to say a little bit about who we are, Hitachi is probably the company you've heard of that does planes and or trains, and they have power equipment. They're based out of Japan. We've got over 300,000 employees worldwide, and we're actually part of a smaller division called the Business Solutions Group, who focuses primarily on Microsoft technologies. It's about 20% of the overall part of the company, and we really focus on Microsoft technologies in order to deploy enterprise-wide solutions on the Microsoft stack for our customers. We've got about 3,400 employees and about 1,500 projects under our belt. And we're going to examine 2 of those projects that really transform the business before the quote and after the quote, and we're going to drill into that now. So the customer case studies are around before the quote and after the quote. So if you have a great quoting system like Apttus, there's only so much you can do to increase the actual number of quotes because the system is excellent. So how do you actually do that? How do we increase the number of quotes actually getting into this amazing quoting system? And the answer is you have to focus on your lead management. And we're going to look at the first customer case study is really going to be around that seemingly small workload of lead management and increasing that quote by having the leads be managed more effectively, and so agents and advisors are getting them to the quoting system more efficiently. And then after the quote, we have this excellent quoting system. It's giving us all of this great information, but what are the agents or advisors doing with it? How are they consuming how their performance is going dynamically and in real time, moving on and moving forward? Are they doing better this 6 months versus the prior 6 months? What's our year-over-year growth on an individual basis or an all-up basis? And we'll take a look at how the Microsoft platform can help with that as well. So we're going to look at Indiana Farm Bureau. They had a real problem with lead management. Great quoting system, but they had a couple tenets around their lead management that are probably pretty familiar to a lot of us. Poor quality and accuracy of leads. They're getting them from multiple different places. A lot of marketing and efficiency that created a burden for their agents and for their advisors, including a nurture campaign that was simply too long for them to do those individual tasks, 5 or 6 follow-up tasks from the marketing department that they wanted them to complete, which created a quoting bottleneck. We're not getting to quoting, or we're getting to it all at once because the agent kind of sits down and goes through all of those tasks quickly in a power session on a Friday, and then all of a sudden we're pushing a ton of things into the quoting system, or we're simply not getting there because they're not sitting down and doing those follow-up tasks. So we wanted to see what would happen if we just had a 4% increase in quoting year over year. What is that going to look like for our bottom line? And so we put some numbers together for them, and assuming that the close ratio is the same, which theoretically if you have better lead management, your close ratio should be better. But if we have a 4% increase in quoting, and the quoting system is not the problem, we're not going to touch the quoting system, we can get a 4% increase in quoting. What's going to look like for our revenue uplift, and how do we achieve that? So the answer was lead management. And if you can see the numbers here, it equated to about $1.5 million in revenue uplift overall across their 3 lines of business, with just a 4% increase in actual quotes getting to the quoting system with the exact same close ratio. So we really focused on, before that quoting system occurs, before we start pushing things and hit that quote now button, how do we manage our leads better in order to enable our agents and advisors to get there faster and get there more efficiently? So better visibility of assigned leads. One of our advisor companies has a minimum of 1,000 leads per agent. That is a huge number. It is impossible to manage that many leads efficiently and effectively without some automation. And so we have to have better visibility of who has what to do when, not only at an individual agent level, but at a management level as well. Automating those follow-up reminders, either for the individual agent that needs to contact or needs to go on site and visit with a customer, as well as automating the marketing and nurture campaigns. Marketing has great content and collateral, but how do we get it into the hands of our clients and our customers efficiently? You have to automate that process as well. And it seems small. We're going to just automate this one lead nurture process, but it could take away several steps and several tasks out of the agent's hands. And when you're dealing with 1,000 leads, that's a big deal. It's a really big deal. And then their own ability to manage their leads personally. So we still want agents to have a self-serve, if you will. We can automate things all day long, but if they can't kind of have their own way of doing things and their own way of managing and scheduling, then they might not be keen to use the system because it's not personalized. So CRM allows you to kind of sort and manage those leads, do your pipeline how you want to. Maybe I want to do meetings all before noon using my Outlook calendar. And so don't lose that ability in the system. So one of the things we really focused on was the marketing automation. They had a couple follow-up tasks that marketing wanted them to complete. They had leads coming from multiple different sources, so based on the source, they might have had a different marketing track. They were doing Sales Genie, importing via spreadsheets, they were purchasing marketing lists, Outlook contacts were being tracked as leads inside of CRM, manual entry as well when they went to trade shows. So really marketing automation was huge for them, and you guys can see here that there's just 2 or 3 steps in the prospect open email yes, there's a new branch, they clicked on the link yes, maybe just 2 or 3 actions that we're automating there, which is a huge win for the agents because when you've got over 1,000 leads, just 2 or 3 eliminated steps equates to a lot of less tasks in your Outlook tasks item. So what about existing business? What about leads that are existing clients? How do we better serve them? Because we can't leave them out of the pipeline. We kind of separate new and existing business. So how do we better serve an existing client base? Well, we talked about the legacy systems and how they're simply not going away. A claim system will always be a claim system. Some of the product systems will always be there. But how do we reduce that burden and get a better view of our existing client base to meet them where they are, to upsell and cross-sell better? So here's a view of an insurance client holistic view. And if you guys notice, we've got claims on the bottom right-hand side, as well as any of their tickets or issues. So I'm not going to go to a commercial policy holder and try and upsell him on his auto fleet if he thinks he got double billed last month. That's going to be a difficult conversation. I'm not going to go to one of my wealth clients and try to upsell them on a new investment if he thinks his fees are too high and he's called about that. So you really need to take a holistic view in order to sell to that existing business and make this easy for your agents and your advisors to consume. So here's an example of one for insurance. And then here's an example of one using the Microsoft stack for the wealth management division. So I've got a client, the Foster family here, and Jonathan is the head of that household. And maybe Jonathan has some commercial business with us, but maybe his wife has some personal business with us. And maybe his brother-in-law also has some personal business with us. And the householding concept allows you to see the full picture of the Foster family, including relatives or people that might be living under their household. And that makes upselling and cross-selling to your existing client base that much easier, because I can see not only what's going on with you, but potentially what's going on with your brother-in-law, with your wife, with your son or daughter. And again, it's that self-service, personalized experience for the client, so they feel like they're really being taken care of. They feel like they matter, and they feel like they're special because you've got the full view of information, which is going to help in your existing business lead management. So what happened with Indiana Farm Bureau? We really focused on lead management pre-quote. We wanted a 4% increase in quotes, great quoting system, so how do we achieve that? really focusing on that lead management pre-quote. We started a very small pilot. We took some of their top performers across their advisor and agent space, so just 40 people. And we said, we're going to get this live in 60 to 90 days. We're going to give you a better lead management system. You love your quoting system, but we're going to give you a better way to manage your leads in a personal way via a mobile device. And then let's see if we can get a 4% increase in quotes. So some of the feedback was that they had a lot of paper that they were managing, or different things were in Outlook folders, stacks of Outlook folders, disparate systems. And the CRM project and the mobility project really brought that all together for them so that quoting becomes easier. The renewal quotes are a lot easier for existing business, which is huge for them because we could just be leaving business on the table if we're just not doing the renewals in the appropriate amount of time. And so we had some great feedback from their actual agents out in the field who said, this was a huge success for us. Everything is organized. I've got information from disparate systems in one holistic view for my renewal business. And for my new business, I can sort and filter and look through my leads in a way that's meaningful. And having those processes automated reduces my overall overhead for the tasks that I have to complete. So the second thing we want to take a look at is before the quote, we can really increase that quoting proficiency and getting to the quotes faster if we manage those leads. But what do we do after the quote? Great quoting system, we're getting things in, we have a great closing ratio, but how are we consuming that information? Is it easy to look at? Do I know if I'm doing better or not? Am I sure if I'm doing better or not? And so some of the issues that another farm bureau of ours had might look common as well. Multiple report data sources. We typically see that a number of an average of about 5 data sources for reporting to make it really efficient. A back-end claim system, a back-end policy system in insurance, multiple different investment sources. Maybe we have banking. If we're in an investment bank, they have the banking information as well as the wealth information. So 2 different business groups have information about the client and about the reports. Heavy Excel users. So how many of you guys in here use Excel as your primary reporting tool? Yeah, it's a great tool and we love Excel, but it might not be as pretty or as dynamic or as interesting as some of the reporting tools that are available, especially Power BI on the Microsoft stack. And then time-consuming reporting. We were told that the sales performance reports for Idaho Farm Bureau at the end of the month, which the district manager was in charge of bringing to their VP, was taking them 8 hours on a Friday once a month. That is a huge burden for the ability to report on how your sales guys are doing with the great tools you've given them. Are they using it? Are they having better growth? Is their close ratio better in their quoting system? Time-consuming reporting is pretty common in the industry. So how did we fix that problem? We leveraged a tool called Microsoft Power BI that's going to give them a visualization of information that's important to them in a really consumable format. It's pretty, it's a dynamically moving chart, the fish actually swim when you're in the application, and then you've got some big bullet points of year over year, 6-month growth, our policy growth, maybe our product, financial product growth year over year, and then you've got geolocation and the mapping. Saturation charts is the colored chart at the top. And then I've got some trending charts as well. So I've got trends on the far left from 2011 all the way through end of 2016. Trending charts on the right for our monthly premium growth. Now, all positive trends because it's demo data. But we've got trending charts. And so I can easily consume this and say, okay, I can see that we're doing better. I can see I have a 7% increase or a $5 million increase year over year. And that's great. But as an agent, maybe I care a little bit more and I want to drill in and see what's really going on. So you have the ability to drill into these reports, and then you can see all the data that's populating it. So this is data coming from the CRM system, it's data coming from the policy admin system, it's data coming from the claim system, it's data coming from the Outlook system, it's coming from all the multiple sources, and I can see the real data in real time that's really populating that visualization and populating that chart. So this was a great way to say, we gave you an excellent quoting tool, we've really fixed your lead management, so you should be having a 4% increase in quoting. And here's what we're going to give back to you. A visualization that you can consume and understand and then drill into to see how you're actually doing and to see if this is consumable for you or not, if these tools are really working for you. And it drives user adoption. We've been talking about mobility, and so I want to point out that this is available on your phone. The agents are out in the field, they're mobile, and so they wanted to know if they could see these great reports and this great information via their mobile device. And so getting this information on the mobile device was critical, and this is just an out-of-the-box feature with the Power BI tool being part of the Microsoft stack. So it didn't take any extra configuration, it didn't take any extra work. Power BI is just available on your mobile device, so we were able to build those rich reports and that rich information for the agents and advisors, and then say, oh, by the way, get it on your smartphone, and you can be out in the field and know exactly how you're doing across the board. Additionally, the other part of mobility that we needed to enable them with, and we touched on this briefly, not just the reporting, but also the tool itself. So we can actually access the entire CRM on your mobile device, which includes that whole lead management pipeline. I've got an issue up here where maybe we're upselling on a car insurance, and they're actually asking about car window repair. Is that included in my existing policy? I'm trying to have a separate conversation, but they're concerned about an issue, and so we have to address this first. But I don't go into that meeting blind as the agent. Because we're enabling all of this information on a mobile device, I actually walk into that meeting and say, we've got that issue taken care of. I saw that you were double billed your fees last month for that financial product or for that advisory service. I saw that your wife had a question about the car window repair on your personal policy, but let's talk about your commercial policy. I don't walk in blind to meetings anymore. I've got the information at my fingertips. I've got the big picture analytics of how I'm doing, but I've also got the small picture information about the day-to-day business of my clients, the day-to-day interactions that I need with them, and it's all available on the mobile device with the Microsoft stack. And again, this is an out-of-the-box application. I don't have to configure something new. I don't have to build a custom app. I can just see this information on my smartphone. I'll point out here that we've got a click to dial. So if I'm about to go on site with a client and I see that they have an issue, I can actually click to dial and call them. It will log that phone call from my phone, which as an agent, again, just one less thing I have to dock, just one less task I have to write down. It actually will let CRM know that I've made that phone call. I can have that conversation maybe before I get to the office and say, let's talk about this issue. I saw it on my mobile device. Let's have a chat about it, so that when I get there, we can spend that hour going over the new business, going over that upsell or cross-sell opportunity, and getting them to the quoting phase. So that's all I have. I got about 7 minutes to give you guys back, and we can spend the next few minutes doing Q&A if you guys like.
I might have missed it, but I was trying to see how you used Apttus for your quoting system after the quote.
Yeah, I was not going to touch on the quoting system. This was really focused on before. Yeah. Before
And
and
you
after.
had a slide about wealth management. Was that?
I did.
More insurance.
Yeah, this was this was more focused on financial services, focused on insurance. That slide was a hidden one. It was supposed to be Q&A next. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. But we do have a wealth management solution as well to help those financial advisors really in that industry space.
I gotta find out more about that.
Come find me after. Yeah.
For reporting, Power BI is the main tool, or are there any other options available on Dynamics platform?
Yeah, so Power BI is the primary business analytics tool. However, because Excel is a Microsoft tool, it speaks fluent language with Dynamics CRM. So we have a lot of our customers who just continue to do reporting in Excel. And so that's the preferred tool. It talks seamlessly with CRM, and so they continue to use that.
One limitation that we've come across in Power BI is it's a really good tool to see it online and everything, but exporting the documents when you need that chart or when you need that data to be sent to somebody who's not in your organization without giving them access to the reporting area. For example, very simple 2-page report, you want to convert it to PDF. Mm-hmm. Right. So that limitation, do you have any update on how's?
So we do have a client who we just built a custom app to go ahead and create those PDF reports and be able to send them out. There is a connection between the CRM platform and Power BI, as well as the CRM platform and Excel. So by default, it will layer in that security. So to your point, it's easy to be able to extend and just customize to have a printable report and then email that where they can just open it and see it. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for your time today. Have a good rest of your day.